Kathy, would you go ahead and start the recording, please?
All set.
All right, outstanding. Welcome. Kathy, while we're waiting, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Haw.
Yes.
Mr. Helge.
Here.
Mr. Sobpols.
Here.
And Miss Rab. Thank you, and Sam Quorum is excused.
So we have a quorum, and we can proceed. You have the agenda in front of you. Members, is there anything that you'd like to add to the agenda? Do you have any questions about what we're intending to cover today?
Not for me.
Hearing nothing, the agenda is approved. At this time, we'll hear from citizens with public comment. I believe we have one that wishes to speak. Just as a reminder, you have 15 minutes in accordance with our current bylaws. And this is a comment session for you. We will be listening very intently, taking notes, but we will not be able to answer any questions at this time. And floor is yours.
Thank you for I'm Jen Teller, 712 Harbor Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to further discuss the meaning and application of the term viewshed as it was introduced at the special meeting of the Tree Commission on 11/8/21 and how it applies to public taxpayer-supported parks. For the benefit of the public, the whole meeting has been online at manisteetv.com, and by scrolling down and to the right, you should be able to find it. Hopefully, it is still there. The letter of compromise prepared by the City Manager and Tree Commission Chair regarding the simple limb trim at First Street Beach by the tennis courts would have solved an 8-year request by us to restore the viewshed this home had when built in 1974. As a result of excessive overgrowth to the north, because it was stunted by unmanaged tree growth on the south, it has taken away 95% of the original view sightline, or view corridor, or viewshed as it has been called. We simply ask for restoration of view, not creation of a view. A question was asked by a commission member for a definition of viewshed as used in the meeting, and no answer was given as it relates to public parks, and so deferred to the Planning Commission to decide on. It should have been defined at the meeting. Without a definition, our trim request was again stonewalled unnecessarily. The dictionary says viewshed is an area that is visible from a certain vantage point, especially when considered valuable or worth preserving for aesthetic reasons. Spot on for our tree limb request. That's why we keep coming back with our request, because even the dictionary calls it valuable and worth preserving for aesthetic reasons. With no written policy for viewshed maintenance, it becomes a suggestive issue, fluid with every change of commission or managerial appointment. Denying the simple limb trim denies the reason people want to come to lake cities like Manistee for vacations, visits, and relocations. View is important when available and should be maintained through publicly owned land, not just in this request, in this one location, but in all the other valuable and worth preserving areas of Manistee, like along the Manistee River, along Man-Made Lake, and Manistee Lake. Maintaining valuable view properties in any area of Manistee supports tourism, the general welfare of residents, and supports real estate values and improved tax base for the city, which every city needs. This would truly support a holistic approach to trimming in viewshed areas for all affected residents. These reasons outweigh the old objection of, we've never done it that way before, or we don't want to set precedent. Make our request without precedent then, if it's such a concern. The concern for a possible avalanche of trim for view requests is handled by using a vegetative management plan, similar to the one developed by Harbor Springs City Manager and given to Manistee entities several times. No need to reinvent the wheel here. An arborist does the evaluation of the tree's health, does the trim work and cleanup, the applicant pays, and a replacement tree with the cost as set by the Tree Commission for all city residents who buy a tree could be requested, all of which we would do. no skin off the DPW for time or expense now or in the future. In response to the concern about our viewshed limb trim being in perpetuity, the answer would be no, as the city may want to build on the land in the future, and if approved by the city council for such a work, of course, there are no rights of a private property owner in such a case. Viewshed would only be maintained until such action would be taken. Replacement playground equipment does not affect this view from our location, and the newer concession stand is already in place. As presented to you numerous times, 9 other lake cities like Holland, South Haven, Muskegon, Ludington, Frankfort, Traverse City, Charlevoix, Petoskey, and Harbor Springs had no problem with this request when given the exact same facts as ours. If there were any problem or problems with how limb trim is handled through public taxpayer-supported property or anything else, it would have been stated when calling them, so no need for Manistee to deny our request out of fear. Even City Council regularly contacts other cities to see how they handle issues in order to make informed decisions. These 9 other cities say it's not an issue for a simple limb trim on public property maintained with public tax money. There is a difference here between public land and private land disputes. The other issues that were brought up in discussion regarding viewshed were about private lot owners versus private lot owners, commercial buildings being built on commercially zoned property, the private development of Harbor Village on private land, and a private homeowner versus another private landowner, all of which don't apply here and should be sent to the Planning Commission, allowing the positive vote to approve this one request regarding public land. Private property viewshed issues versus private property viewshed issues belong elsewhere and not in the Commission. In addressing the individual items listed in the compromise plan proposed, item 1, the arborist report was completed by us with no issue to trim and given to the Tree Commission previously. Item 2, we agree to pay for the trim and disposal. Item 3, for clarity, we would pay the cost that any Manistee taxpayer would pay for a tree with water bag to be planted anywhere but our viewshed sightline. At present, the cost is $50 established by the Tree Commission. Item 4, if the compromise plan is approved by the Tree Commission, we will refrain from future contact with city leaders or the public on this issue. Item 5, regarding future trim for view requests, we agreed with letters A and B. Letter C, the cost would be the same as mentioned in item 3. D, after approval, we feel a subcommittee comprised of city taxpayers would be helpful to work to present a modified vegetation management plan through public property that fits Manistee taxpayers' desire to maintain their viewshed restoration on all public property. This provides a holistic and broader spectrum of appeal for all. 4 of the 5 commission members were in agreement with the proposed compromise plan, and we were so sorry to see the commission sidelined by items not pertinent to the one request to trim one limb on a taxpayer-supported public park, offering a viewshed to Lake Michigan, not just a park view. Public park offering a viewshed to Lake Michigan is considered valuable and worth preserving for aesthetic reasons when all this information is provided. Manistee was a Tree City USA member through at least 2012-2013, at least when we applied for the first limb trim. It suddenly disappeared, but has been reconsidered for Manistee membership. And that was brought to the City Council meeting in September by your chair, who said that the Tree USA should be reinstated and supported. In the 15 reasons to become a Tree City USA member, number 6 states that becoming a Tree City USA builds cooperation between public and private sectors to effectively manage urban forests. Manistee should be a member as it celebrates the 4th of July Forest Festival, has a Packaging Corporation of America in its backyard, and at the edge of a 1 million-acre Manistee Cadillac National Forest and a lot of state forest land. A city should be trying to build cooperation and flexibility with public and private sectors to manage urban forests, but that has not been the case in Manistee. Membership has 4 standards. Number 2 states that the ordinance should be flexible enough to fit the needs and circumstances of the particular community. That is all we ask in this public viewshed blessed city. Flexibility to serve all tax-paying citizens as needed to maintain that viewshed through public taxpayer-supported land and other land that offers viewshed opportunities, as 9 other lakeshore cities do without issue. The City of Manistee Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1026 Trees and 1026.07 states that when a tree permit is applied for and the commission fails to act on that application within 30 days from the date of submission, the application shall be considered approved. There was an application handed in to the DPW signed by the property owner of 714 Harbor Drive on June 11th, 2019. The homeowner was asked several times if there was a response and has always said, "No one ever contacted me." Why would that person lie? Therefore, automatically approved. Why won't the tree commission move forward with a limb trim? Even the DPW director stated at a tree commission meeting when asked by the chairperson how the DPW tree commission responds to tree trim requests. The DPW director stated that the applicant calls in for an answer. That is not protocol, therefore causing the tree commission to be in default. It is not on the shoulders of the applicant to request response. Again, the DPW tree commission never responded to the homeowner that it was denied. Any denial should be written by the tree commission and sent to the applicant. With all due respect, we ask that the tree commission follow the leadership of the city manager and tree commission chairperson so that our one limb trim request can be granted without precedent. Then a comprehensive written policy could be carved out by a taxpayer subcommittee to address this current viewshed maintenance issue in a holistic, broad spectrum way for all those affected in all areas of the city. Now, there was also a dictionary definition of stonewalled, and that's been happening all these years since 2013. And it means to engage in delayed or obstructionist tactics, to refuse to answer or cooperate, to resist or rebuff, especially by officials trying to stonewall as long as possible. That's the issue here. We're not asking for a lot. You have no policy. How many times have I brought it to the commission, to the city council, and there's no action taken? Policy, because you have none, we are just solely asking that you be flexible for one limb trim and for all the other city. Yes, people should not be denied this special thing that we have here in Manistee, and just like any other lakeside city, all the ones I mentioned, no problem. They say, you're not asking for a lot. We work with you to accomplish limb trims. Some people have a charge for it, up to $250, and they'll do it. One guy said, hey, we can come tomorrow or next week. Huh? Can you believe that? Some of them said, just cut the limb. We'll be on the schedule for 2 years. Just go cut it yourself. We have thought about it many times. Jeff has already said himself, he has thought about it many times, and it would be simple. You said that at the meeting. I heard you. Anyway, that's all we're asking, is for flexibility from the city to accomplish a simple limb trim that you have no policy for. And that's why we're here. We want a policy that will serve all the communities that have viewshed issues. So with that, respectfully, I'll stop, and I hope you will reconsider the issue of sending it to the Planning Commission. This limb trim does not belong in the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission deals with private property to private property, commercial to commercial. All those things that were brought up online, they do not apply to this situation. So I respectfully ask that you would reconsider bringing this back to the commission and with a 2/3 vote and move forward to trim the limb. That's all we ask. There's no issue here. They would have said so, as I mentioned. when I called all these people. So I appreciate your time and your consideration on this matter. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Teller. Moving on now into the agenda for today. We've got, pardon? More comments, sorry. Are there any other folks that have a comment? I'm sorry. Please.
I'm getting lesser half, I guess. But, I don't know, man, we've been doing this for 8 years.
Can you state your name again?
My name
for
is
the-
Dale
for taking
Teller.
the-
Okay, and I know Jeff and Jenny and I have been talking about this issue for 8 years, or over 8 years. Jeff's actually stood underneath the tree, and we looked at the tree and talked about the tree 8 years ago. And it just, I don't know, we love Manistee. Jenny was born and raised in Manistee. She went to school in Manistee, and we're back in Manistee because we love it. And my own personal opinion is, we're not moving. The city is not moving, and that's a typical example. We're asking for a lousy a limb to be trimmed. That's it. And it's not gonna cost the city a dime. It just, to me, I can't fathom, it makes 0 sense just not to do it. And again, we've heard past precedent, we don't do it that way. We're worried about, there's gonna be a stampede. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna, if this goes through, it's gonna cost us maybe $1,000. You think you're gonna get a stampede when you gotta start charging people to cut a limb down? A limb, not a tree now, or not 2 trees. That ain't gonna happen. So that's, to me, a faulty reason not to do it. She's done her due diligence, no question. Really, she has. And I can read, she wants me to read all these statements made by other cities. You know what they say. They say do it. We do it. We do it for taxpayers. We try to work with the taxpayers. We want to this, that, and the other thing. There's not one city that she contacted that didn't say, of course we're going to help you do it. And I just don't get it, guys. I don't get it. So hopefully you revisit this. And hopefully common sense, really. And hopefully you've listened to what she has told you. There's a lot to it. And this has been an ongoing issue, as I said, and she said, for over 8 years. When we bought this place, the guy before Jeff said, hey, no problem, we'll cut it down, that's what we do. And that's kind of one of the reasons we said, okay, fine, we're going to open this up. And this is now not because, this is not about finances. It's not about finances. This is about what the right thing to do is. And I really wish you guys, everybody in this room, would take a look at what's going on. Take a look at what we're asking for. It's not it's not going for, deforest First Street Beach. No, it's one lousy limb. And to cut it down, or to, as I said before, it's not going to cost you guys a dime. And second of all, it's the right thing to do. So, I hope, what's the word? Reason, I guess. I hope reason. You guys really take a look at what we're asking for. We're not asking for an arm and a leg, and it is not going to cost the city a dime. And I want to reemphasize, anybody, in my opinion, thinks that there's going to be they're going to be knocking down the doors to get other limbs trimmed. Ain't going to happen. For that kind of money, you might get a couple, and rightly so. Maybe it should be done. But again, if we're going to pay for it, I don't see any reason not to allow it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Teller. Anybody else willing to make a public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on with the agenda. Approval of the minutes from the special meeting November 8th. The minutes are in front of you. Are there any corrections, additions to these minutes?
Motion to approve?
Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Move now into unfinished business. You also have in front of you a printout of the report we got back from the city attorney on the bylaws that we're looking to amend. This was also provided to you electronically a couple weeks ago. And I heard back from most of you at that time that you didn't really have any questions or issues. I think that my feeling on this is the city attorney has done an outstanding job helping us make sure these bylaws are up to date and aligned with everything else that we have in the city.
Do you mind if I just add a little bit to that?
Certainly.
So the Tree Commission proposed its amendments to the bylaws. Those amendments were then presented to the city attorney. I don't think he disputed any of what the Tree Commission had requested, but he did find some additional things that he thought should be updated and brought in so that they're consistent with others. So I don't think there was any dispute on what the Tree Commission had requested. There's just some additional that he has suggested.
Is that included in this piece of paper we're looking at right here?
Both the attorney's suggestions and the Tree Commission's requests are contained in that document.
Because I noticed, John, this is just a hair different spots going through from what you sent out to us. But I've got no problem with what I've got in my hands right here, right now.
Yeah, it probably has a little more legalese.
Right, there's a few more comments and stuff in there.
Right. Okay, so is there any other discussion? Well, we need a motion to accept these reviewed bylaws. Can I hear that motion?
I will make a motion to accept the revised Manistee Tree Commission bylaws as presented.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept the revised bylaws as reviewed by the city attorney, and that motion has been seconded. So let's go ahead and take the vote. Would you just call the roll?
Yes. Angie,
Yes.
Mr. Jerry,
Yes,
Mr. Helge,
Yes.
and Zach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. The next step for this is then to go back to the,
I will prepare a city council agenda item and present the proposed changes to city council for adoption.
thank you very much. All right. The next thing on our agenda is a request for proposal for a consulting arborist. Jeff, could you just fill us in on a little bit on the status of that?
Yeah, so the chair had put together a pretty detailed outline for the request for proposals from the arborist. I reviewed it, and I honestly chose to wait till after the first of the year to get through the Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's holidays, and kind of get everybody back to normal business. So should be this month. I'll prepare that and get it advertised.
Wonderful. Again, for the benefit of everybody in the room, we're just looking for a part-time consulting arborist, to help us, answer questions from the public, to help us make decisions on both trimming and tree removal, and certainly advise us on moving forward with the overall vegetation management plan for the city. And having that consulting arborist on staff is going to be a key point before we move forward with the vegetation management plan.
Can I add?
Yes, absolutely.
Jeff, I don't know if the conservation district, is Josh a forester or is he an arborist? And have you, I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with him.
I don't know him.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't know if he was worth it, if we could try and utilize that. I don't know if it would be the same setup as far
Once
as
we get it
the-
together, if you have any suggestions, because normally what I like to do is to advertise publicly, but then if there are known vendors that you want to make sure at least see the request, we can send it to them directly too.
I didn't know because they're quasi-governmental,
Yeah, maybe there's a cooperative thing there.
Yeah, so I didn't know if there'd already been discussions, and I don't even know his title, but I know he's very knowledgeable.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can talk to him.
Okay, very cool, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the arborist?
And that kind of just bleeds into the next one on the tree purchase, and I don't know if there's been discussion with the conservation district and working with their tree sale program. I don't know if that's ever been ever been talked about either.
It hasn't, but from what I understand about them, the type of trees that are approved for the right-of-ways are much older and larger and established.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, I've personally bought
Yeah.
trees through their program, and
They're small.
they're small.
Sprouts.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to, I didn't know if that's ever been discussed before.
Do you have any update, Jeff, on,
Well, it's kind of a timing thing. We want to get before them, before they're booked for spring, but you don't want to go out too early when they aren't able to get their prices from the nurseries and stuff. So that one I was kind of targeting for March to get advertised. That's, usually a couple months, gives them a couple months before they would plant, but also gives them to fit it in the schedules and get accurate pricing. There's one, who did our last planning? Wasn't that
Anthony.
Anthony? We'll contact Anthony and see if there's a recommended time frame. He's planning for us last time.
okay. Again, I'm just putting down here that we'll have that RFP out to the public by March, so let's just all hold ourselves accountable for that, okay? Any other unfinished business? Any other discussion? Not, we'll move forward to new business. Do we have any new trim or removal requests?
No, we do not.
Kathy, thank you very much. You've done a great job, by the way, of keeping apprised of that. Please continue to send that out to me via email, even though these months when we're not having meetings.
Yes.
And
Yes.
again, for the folks on the commission, I'll deal those out as appropriate,
Thank
if
you.
that's all right with you guys. Very good. Again, going back to holding ourselves accountable for March, Jeff, the publicity and promotion of the tree purchase program. One of the things that I really think is important is we get this word out to the community. One of the things that was in our report to the city council was we're cutting down a lot more trees than we're planting. And we've got to turn that around. And this is one way that we can help do that. And so I think that when we get together for our first meeting in April, our next meeting, which would be the first Monday of April, I know I'm going to come prepared with a draft, publicity program that I'd like for this council to, this commission to, give input on. Okay? In fact, I may even be tickling your emails as I'm coming up with this stuff, getting your input before that.
Well, why don't you do that and plan on that? That works pretty good.
Pardon?
I said, why don't you plan on doing that? That works
Yeah.
pretty good. It gives us time to think.
If you're
about it.
comfortable with that, again, but we won't take any action on it until we have our public meeting. Okay? So I just want to make sure that we're not,
So these items are all interrelated.
yeah.
And I mean, if you think about the big picture of that program, we bid it out last fall. We didn't get any takers because
They're all too busy.
they were too busy. The plan is to bid it out for spring, and we also want to increase the number we're going to do. Increasing the number we have drives down the price and increases interest from vendors. So we should time when we bid this out to contractors, along with when we're doing the publicity and trying to get people to sign up to kind of sweeten the pot. So I said March, trying to get in the best bid schedule. But honestly, April seems to be a very appropriate time, because right now nobody's thinking about planting a tree when you got snow on the ground. March, April starts to warm up, you start getting some thawing, you start thinking about that. So maybe the publicity needs to be in front of the request for contractors.
I'm open to that.
And there's really, the time frame, there's nothing magical about the time frame from us, except that previous vendors have always told us, and this would be a perfect thing for the arborist to opinion on, is the best time, the optimum time to plan is before they leaf out and after they've budded and gone dormant in the fall. Those are the optimum. Trees are planted year-round, so it doesn't preclude us from planting in May or June, July. I think when you get into August, September, then you're really stressed, or August at least, then you have the potential of stress on the trees, but
Yeah, for Mike, just a question again, I apologize if you've already covered this in a prior meeting, but who digs the hole?
the contractor
The
does.
contractor digs the hole?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the point, so it's not tying up your DPW
No.
employees, that's another thing I was concerned about.
No, it takes very little effort from our side, so we're flexible on that. But what I've done in the past, when we don't have a lot, say Kathy's got 8 or 10, I've tried to sweeten the pot and put another 10 trees in the parks or somewhere on public property so that we can get enough critical mass to get good bids on the trees.
That was gonna be my next question, do we have any room in the budget, for a number of trees?
Yeah, if they go in the right of way, that's a street expense. All the forestry work that happens in the right of way. So just as an example, Ms. Tiller said the tree costs us $50 to the residents. There's about a $250 expense to the city. So the difference, that $200, comes out of the street funds because it's foresting in the streets. If I supplement that program and put them in the parks, then the money comes out of the parks budget. So it's a little bit different, and there's a lot of demand on the parks money right now.
Yep. Do you have any idea, is there gonna be any infrastructure funding that makes its way all the way down to the city of Manistee that we could utilize for tree planting in this city?
From the new federal,
Yeah,
I don't know the answer. The way that,
And I don't think anybody actually knows that.
yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Historically, when there's been federal pushes on infrastructure, the state of Michigan has funneled that money through the state revolving fund for sewers and the water state revolving fund, or no, the drinking water revolving fund. So we call it the DOR for the SRF. Those two funds have been how the state has taken those federal dollars and flushed them through because they're already established programs. They loan them out to communities at a low interest loan, but then the repayment replenishes that for future. But I don't know if the state legislature will create new programs. I can tell you that Manistee is, and I see Mr. Bradford walked in, the finance director. We are hitting a very good average on our grant applications. We've been pulling in millions of dollars every year. But there's a couple of them that just we have no hope. They created a Category B fund for funding local streets. For every dollar they put in that fund, there's $100 of requests. So, and our applications are scoring through the roof, and we're not even close. So we keep trying. We've submitted 4 years in a row, haven't got anything, but we just got a Minger Fund through the Community Foundation to put disc golf down at First Street. We just got a small urban grant for 2025 to repave Washington Street. What are the recent ones? We just got a drinking water service line and asset management one. So we're doing pretty good, but we'll just have to see how those come down.
if something comes down the pike, that has anything to do with trees,
Yeah.
urban forestry.
So what I've done is,
writing the grant or things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've got to be focused on the big rocks in the city of Manistee, the infrastructure needs that are here.
So when I've put, say, 10 trees into the program to try to sweeten the pot, to me, that's money well spent, because our per tree cost maybe $400. We can get it down to the $220, $250 if we double the amount. So, you know, it's not a diminishing returns, it's just the opposite. But then we've also applied and received consumers' energy grants, because those will fund stuff outside of the right-of-ways, but they're only worth about $1,000.
Well, again,
It's like $100 a tree.
let us know, you know, let the commission know
Sure.
if there's an opportunity. And again, we don't expect you to spend a whole lot of your resources on that. But perhaps we can do some help. We can dig in and do some help.
Well, and the money that we spend within the street right-of-way for forestry is, like we've talked about in the past, that's the reason the Tree City USA stopped in Manistee, is because we didn't meet the spending requirement. We didn't meet that investment. Today we are, and we've done a lot to make sure that our accounting supports that. So if we're ready to try to apply for that again, we're in position.
Okay. Well, very good. Are there any other issues that related to the publicity or promotion of the tree purchase program? Hearing none. It's time now for any concerns or comments. Zach, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I just want to talk about the tree inventory, like I always do.
Okay.
Big on that. I know I spoke with Sean, and he was saying that there, you know, some licensing fees that might be associated with if we did get to the point where we had interns out there using their machine to tap and hit OK and everything. And he said it was within a couple $100.
I'm
I
not
don't-
sure what you're referring to.
So to do
To
the
do surveying,
Yeah, it's the,
to do the inventory of the. Yeah.
I have the survey equipment that.
Oh, you do
that.
have it?
Yeah.
Okay. So to put it right into the GIS
Yep.
file? Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, our water department acquired it through a previous grant. And
those
so when we
grants.
do new locations and stuff, that's what we use.
So how many of those do you have?
One.
Just one? And then Spicer, I assume, has at least one?
They assisted us in purchasing it
Oh, you guys
to make
shared
sure it's
one.
completely compatible.
Okay.
So it's not, well, 10 years ago, survey grade meant sub-centimeter. Today, this is sub-centimeter, you know? But it's accurate enough for mapping. It's accurate enough that it wouldn't matter if you were on the south side of the tree or the north side of the tree. It'll be in GIS and be pretty accurate.
Right.
The other thing, and I don't know if you talked to Sean about this, but it was probably 7-8 years ago, we did a LiDAR survey of every public corridor in the community. So we have literally millions of laser shots from a piece of survey equipment that drove the entire community. So we've got a digital cloud, 3D cloud of the entire street network, parks, every place. And we also have high resolution photographs of it all too. So
share
when we do a street project, what's that?
Can you share that?
Yeah, it's like 15 terabytes. It's
Just-
massive.
Send it in the mail?
But I have it, but my computer's not powerful enough to manipulate it. So just as an example, we're going to rebuild Memorial Drive next summer. That data is already in there. They go through and they post-process it. And when they post-process it, they go out and do some field surveying to put control into it. But then they're able to draw the lines and create the existing conditions from that. So what I was going to say is that would give you, if they were able to do that economically, that would give you the trees that exist at the date and time that wouldn't would have to be updated by all the new trees we've planted annually and by the trees we've done removed annually, but just maybe another avenue to look at.
Yeah, I think that is really helpful because that goes from needing an army of interns out there with their feet on the ground to, a couple using GIS and processing that data.
The question I have is once you have all that data, if it isn't managed
Right.
and kept up to date, just like any other database, then it loses its benefit. But what would be the benefit of this time and money investment?
So from where I see it, it's easy to keep track for your Tree City USA. There's one in maintenance requirements. You're able to say, hey, that we've had continuing issues with this tree. Maybe it's time we just cut it down. 3, you're looking at with the canopy. You're looking at stormwater differences in stormwater. You can be calculated with that canopy size and things like that. So with the greater the canopy, the greater effect you're going to have on your stormwater management system.
And then the other real value you've got is being able to have a solid inventory of where the trees are and what their species are. We'll know if we've got, for example, we're putting ourselves at greater risk for disease or insect infestation issues, and we can maybe do a better job planning and preparing and budgeting, for that in the future. Those type of things.
A wilt comes through or something like that, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe I'm the only one that feels really passionate about that, but
Again, I'm kind of rely on you with your connections at Grand Valley and all that. If we can get something going that way, that'd be great, And if these, you think about the logistics of this, if the students want to come up here, I know a place where they can stay at no cost. Okay, I've got a pretty big place I won't even know they're on the 3rd floor.
Well, I've got a lot of people coming to town for the Super Bowl. Do you want to kind of blend the two together, or?
Open up a can of worms or pigs or not?
If I were a true, capitalist, then I would be,
Charging.
care of that. No, we'll pass on that. But again, Zach, thanks for the work you're doing. Any other comments? Jerry, do you have anything?
No, that's it, that's,
Angela?
and we'll.
Oh, wonderful.
I have one.
Yes.
Just FYI, our I think it's actually called Clean Manistee. It's a program or initiative, but includes the yard waste bags, picking up composted materials, and the tree chip or the brush,
Yeah.
the brush that we chip up. That runs from
April
April
to November
1st.
Yes.
Is the season. We continued to chip branches into December because we had some big storms and there were a lot of damage. We didn't actually have that very much damage to City Boulevard trees. I think there was only 2 that came down in that big one. So I think we're effectively managing those trim requests and stuff and doing a good job with that. But just to let you know that we were out way past that program, trying to get it cleaned up before the snow buried them, and then and now we're out picking up what's left over of the Christmas trees.
Well, I know you did a good job. I had quite a pile out there myself on my yard, so I really appreciate that service. Okay, if there's nothing else,
I just wanted to say thank you to Kathy and Jeff. You guys have been diligent, and it's been really nice. You guys have been doing a great job.
yeah. And Kathy, thank you so much for.
This was in the packet. Were you gonna?
Pardon?
This was in the.
Yeah,
Kathy handed that. Were you gonna talk about that?
not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, that's a information. If nothing else, then our next meeting will be on the first Monday of April at 5 o'clock in this venue. And everyone, stay warm, stay safe. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.